The reason why I wanted to create this documentary is because I had come to the realization that there were only 2 moments that I had ever seen my father cry. And in those 2 moments, I was very young, but I was also very uncomfortable with seeing my father show those emotions. I wanted to unpack not only my own feelings, but also the feelings of Black men in and around Toledo, who may have also gone through similar circumstances, where they only showed those emotions rarely in front of those that they loved. Why that became the norm, and what happens next.
Wait, hold on. Wait, I'll be 100 with you. See, that's why she recording, because what you just asked was.
Can you ask it again?
Yeah, that was a very good ass. That was a good ass question. That was a very good question.
Was, do you think the term like masculinity is a cultural thing? Is it discussed in white homes as well, or do you think it's something that's just more expressed?
What does masculinity mean to you?
Start out with a hard question. Well, where I was taught masculinity means to be tough in every situation, never show emotion. It hurt, get up, dust it off, don't worry about it. That's my term of masculinity.
Okay. Has it changed at all?
A little bit. Due to understanding my feelings more. I tend to be more empathetic towards people.
What does masculinity mean to you?
Manhood, or being a man, or masculinity, I feel like includes being a provider, being a protector, respect of womanhood, and I also feel like there's an aspect of toughness, being able to push through the ups and downs of life to uplift others that you care about. That comes with masculinity as well.
So I was in the military for a long time. And one of the jobs I had was I was a drill instructor. And I led a whole bunch of young men. And one of the things I used to tell them, I said, I'm not only going to teach you how to survive in this military world, but I'm going to teach you how to survive in any city, country in the world. And one of the things that I stressed upon these young men who were 18 to 24 years old was, if you say you're going to do something, do it. When you look a man in the face and you shake his hand, you talk to him. You have a firm handshake. You know what I mean? And you do what the hell you say you're going to do. If you present yourself in any environment in the world to another man that you have these traits inside of you, any man will help you.
The testosterone, the toughness, the roughness, the
standard. A white standard. This is how it should be. This is how society viewing you. You have to act accordingly. But for me, masculinity is fuck that. Go to the gym, work out, look good, work good, treat every brother with humility and respect across the board.
I feel it.
But be who you are as an individual.
Right.
We should not have to be running around here emulating ourselves like we white. Because that's not who the fuck we are. That's not who we are. We gotta be who the fuck we are. And for me, Sonny,
I'm not gonna mess with you.
Right. And for me, this is what I send in to my children. This is what I send in to mine. Hey man, be who you are.
Yes.
Fuck what another person think of you or think about you or any of that. Be who you are.
Yes.
So for me, masculinity is, hey man, being the best you.
Being the best you.
Being the best you. And whatever comes along with that, either you can accept who I am as an individual, or you can't.
I feel that.
You know,
I gotta give you some depth.
To be honest, something I really think about it's however you define it within yourself, and the way that you want to present yourself
I mean, I consider myself to be a masculine person. I am fully male. I am a man. I've always felt that way. I've never had any doubts about that. I just present myself in the way that I want to present myself to the world.
Provider, responsible, accountable, confident. I think that's how I would describe it in blanket statements. I think those things in practice are being responsible for myself, and in my case, my wife and kids. I think being accountable to myself and my wife and kids and my community, and making sure that I represent a human being, not so much necessarily a man, but that I'm always trying to be upstanding and have integrity and do things that I believe are right in a male body.
I guess masculinity means to me is what comes natural out of a man, you know, with us having testosterone, those things that come out as far as masculinity, like maybe the aggression that we might have that most women don't. Maybe you know, even when you look at sports, okay, even the way we play sports is a little more aggressive. You know, the masculine, that's tough. That's it.
Yeah, that's what I said. And you naturally are, and you feel it. You know what I'm saying?
It's a feeling.
It's keeping your family safe. It's keeping your woman safe. It's keeping your kids safe. You know what I'm saying? And keeping your partners safe. Your brothers. You know what I'm saying? Honestly, with all of this injustice that's going on around us, you know what I'm saying? Like, they stripping us of it. Mm-hmm. They're trying to. We still have it, but they're trying to strip us of it. You know what I mean?
Well, over the years, I guess it progressed because growing up, it meant I couldn't cry. I had to be in charge of everything. I had to be number one.
Like a male ego thing, just showing that you are strong-willed and powerful.
But it's a matter of who, as a man, it's something that you feel. Whenever you get around a bunch of men, you feel that it's a sense to where you feel comfortable.
Masculinity means strength. It means standing for what you believe in. It means, you know, at the end of the day, can you look at yourself in the mirror? You know, when you tell your sons how they should supposed to be, you gonna live that way. You ain't gonna set them up for failure. You ain't gonna give them directions that you're not gonna proceed in yourself. So to me, masculinity means just making sure you really truly will live and die by the things that you portray to your kids.
Masculinity. When I think of masculinity, I think of strength. So if you ask me how do I define it, I think of it like just, I only can look at it as just strength. And everything that comes with being strong.
Okay.
Now that I've gotten older, I've learned more about what masculinity really is. Used to think it was just about laying it down on the sex tip and doing what you had to do in that way, right? Because that's what we've been taught, right? Boys will be boys, right? They taught our sisters how to be women, but they just tell us, hey, boys will be boys. But now that I've gotten older, I've learned that masculinity is a whole lot more than just the bedroom. It's about taking care of your business, owning up to responsibilities, being someone that can be held accountable. And as my auntie used to say to my mother, she said, you gotta be careful how you raise the boys, because he either gonna be some woman's worst nightmare or some woman's best.
So now we have a foundation for what this sample of men believe is masculinity. For some, it's being a provider and protector. For others, it's toughness and roughness. It's about meaning what you say and being accountable. Most men admitted to having to unlearn the definition of masculinity from their youth as being focused only on aggression and dominance, manipulation, and sex. Now, we will explore the concept of black male privilege. Do you believe in black male privilege?
No. What the fuck is Charlamagne talking about? Like, what do you mean? Because I can say nigga. Like, I mean,
yes and no. I mean, it all depends on where you're at on the other side, you know, in terms of the question. Being a black male, I don't really think about the things that I am privileged to do, so I think this is a pretty good question to answer. Because in a certain sense, as a male, we do get special privileges like, you know, working specific jobs over our female counterparts, you know, based on what we're able to do. But in terms of like black privilege, there's certain things and professions where we do have that privilege, such as, you know, being athletes. You know, we're often favored in becoming like professional football players, basketball players, or anything that's like athletically related. But I'd probably say that's one of the most privileged areas for an African American male. And sometimes we tend to get pushed into that role even though we're capable of doing other things, and we tend to not have that black male privilege, and it can tend to cause frustrations because you're pretty much being, I guess you could say, stereotyped to being able to do only one thing. So I mean, having the privilege because you're able to do it does not mean that that should be your future. But I do believe it somewhat does exist. It's just not really covered that often because it's kind of like a topic that's really eclipsed by a term called white privilege. So since, you know, you have a term called white privilege, people tend to disregard, you know, like things like women privileges or like male privileges or like black male privileges or like black women privileges. Like we tend to disregard that because of something that we're more focused on. But I do believe there is somewhat an existence of black male privilege.
I think there are privileges that come with being a black male. Especially being a black straight male, there are privileges that come with that. There's male privilege, right? There are privileges that we have as men that women don't enjoy, such as higher pay. Right? Yes, as black people, if you compare that to our white counterparts, we make less. Right? When you compare what black men make to what black women make, yes, there's a privilege that just comes with being a male and fitting in with dominant culture and dominant society. There's privilege. Anytime you're part of a majority or dominant group culturally, there's privilege that comes along with that. Right? So I believe that, you know, there's privilege that comes along with being a male, right? Because that's the dominant culture. There's privilege that comes along with a variety of other traits that are part of dominant culture. But yes, black male privilege is real, you know, and I think it should be acknowledged. You know? Because if black male privilege isn't acknowledged, if we can't even acknowledge it, then how do we help our sisters out? We can't. You can't fix a problem until it's first acknowledged.
Do you believe in black male privilege?
Black male privilege?
Yeah.
I never even heard of black male privilege. I heard of black male, but never black male privilege. Now, that sounds like some type of dichotomy to me because black males don't have a lot of privileges. Even with the black woman, we gotta fight and battle, you know what I'm saying? Just for a sense of my belonging. Like a lot of times black women feel like they the boss because they making more money or da-da-da-da-da. And you know, another thing, finance and masculinity seems to go hand in hand a lot of times. So when you in an oppressed, unfortunate, disenfranchised position, it's kind of hard to feel very masculine. That's why I feel like a lot of men, I'm not knocking the gay community or whatever, but I feel like a lot of black men that go that route may be feeling that way because they feel cornered and they don't feel like they have an opportunity to be men and be alive and survive. So I really can't answer that question. I never heard of black male privilege.
I don't even know what that would be. So I guess, no.
believe in black male privilege?
Yeah, we should have some. We don't have any, but we should have some. We've been slaves for a long time. Even in this common day, we still are slaves held back by certain bounds and rules.
Okay. Do you believe in black male privilege?
No. Like, I mean, I'm sure somebody can figure out an arena where that may have privilege. I say like a basketball court or something, but that's about it. Like, other than that, you're attacked anywhere else. But I mean, I can't think of anywhere where a black man is, you know, he has privilege over anything other than maybe his home. You know what I'm saying? But if it's not like sports or entertainment, I don't see any privilege.
Black male privilege. I think that's a complicated question. I think being black and male in America means that you're vulnerable to the police. You're vulnerable to being part of, being caught up in the criminal justice system, and then all the discrimination that goes along with that, with the consequences of that. And for that reason and for other reasons, I think the only sense in which there can be black male privilege is over black women. But beyond that, I think it's difficult to, relative to white males, no.
Okay.
I believe in it because as a male, I know that sexism exists. And I know as a male, I get preferred treatment often, not sometimes, but often. Now, on the power scale and less power scale within America, it might appear that the white male would be having the most privilege. However, still as a male and a black male, there is black male privilege, and often in the company of other men, I take that as an opportunity to shut down some conversation that I know that I can as a black male, because I can do that with little to zero backlash. So for me, I do believe that there is black male privilege, and to say that it doesn't mean that it's a negative thing. It's just, for me, it means that we're in a position to make a difference. And we can either use it to lift our voices and speak on some issues that those who may not have as much privilege as we do, may not be able to. Or it means that I can use my black male privilege to purposely not say something, or to purposely be silent.
I can't play some of this. Black male privilege? No, I think we have, we have a culture and a community, and there's mores and rules and hierarchies within that. But that's even within ourselves, It's black. Who's the privilege of who? Who's in this month? Light skin, dark skin? Like, what are you talking about? Like, so, and then you want to talk about the larger society, black male privilege of what? Like, I don't even want to get vulgar, but you can imagine. So, I mean, that's facetious stuff, That hasn't unless I'm gonna go out here and be a sex worker, that hasn't always served me well. Some days I'd like to just get a job a little easier. Like, what are you talking about? Like, black male privilege? What is the... No.
I mean...
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No. No. Is it fun to be a black male? Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes it's really scary. And more times it's really scary. And like the toughness they apply to us is human beings adapt. So it's like you adapt your life being scary. Is that what you really want? I mean, if you feel like that's a privilege, then okay, that's what you do. But I'm not bitching.
The concept of black male privilege was met with skepticism from most of the participants. It seemed that most men struggled to identify the concept of black male privilege as something that existed outside the context of white privilege. I wanted the men to discuss their relationships with their fathers as a way to begin unpacking some of the emotional baggage that they held on to. For most of the men interviewed, there was a rift in the relationship with their fathers that became the catalyst for them to change their ways to create a better situation for their own children. In search of statistics, I quickly realized that many stats are skewed and do not account for the myriad of circumstances that can be presented. Therefore, I will allow the men to speak from their own experiences. What is your relationship like with your father?
Okay. Him and my mom divorced when I was 2. Was separated when I was 2. Fully divorced when I was 3. We didn't really start building a relationship until we started doing business together when I was 24. We communicate. Not that well, but we communicate.
Is there anything you wish was different?
I wish he would have made better decisions when me and my sister was younger.
Like what?
As far as the things he led to our family splitting up, I think he could have made better decisions. And as a father and as a man with responsibilities.
Or depending upon what tools that he was given, determine how I was going to be raised. So I think for maybe the first 10 or 12 years of my life, I had 2 parents. Both of them worked, but I didn't get some of those life lessons from him. And with my sons, I've took the time to sit them down, regardless if they wanted life lessons or not. You get some life lessons, all right? Because I think that I made enough mistakes in my life that I could assist him, assist both of them. But yeah, my relationship with my dad was, he was just there. I think that if anything, I probably realized that he worked, and I remember not knowing where he worked and what he did. And I think that this is funny. They were asking in school, I can't remember what grade I was in because I don't want to make myself look too lame. But they asked, where did he work? He worked at a place called like the Depot, but I always thought that he said the North Pole. So when they were asking me at school, where does your dad work? I said the North Pole. I think he did the best with what he had. And another thing that I consider about my dad, loving, he passed away at 55. And I'm 55 now, and I'll be 56 in August for all of you out there that, want to buy gifts, all right? It's the 1st of August, all right? So, I know a lot of y'all get paid on, I guess it's on a Friday, the 1st, all right? Just let y'all know, I know what it is. But I never considered how my dad grew up. I never met his dad to even talk about how he was brought up. I think that me meeting my dad in '63 as an infant, I may have met him after all of his generational trauma, and he produced a child. along with my mom that went through a lot of generational trauma. So it's almost like I'm the result of two people coming together, living in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and having a child that's born of that time. So I think that, and I consider that, I factor in those types of things so that I don't sound like a kid on Jerry Springer that don't like his dad or feel that they didn't do enough. He did the best that he could, and I'm glad that everything that he showed me or didn't show me, I can use both of those now. The things that I didn't learn, I know what to teach. Some of the things that I learned, some of the behaviors that I learned, I know, well, I'm not going to support that. So that's my relationship with my dad, and I like to always at least put it in context to let people know that he just didn't show up in 1963 as my dad. There was a prequel and a prequel to the prequel, and if you didn't go back to see the first two series, all right, then you can't tell me nothing about him, all right, because you really don't know.
Like with your father?
Relationship with my father isn't the best. He really wasn't in my life at all. I just, no lie, I'm 36 years old. I just now know when his birthday is. Just speaking back, we had contact through over the years, but it was never long. He always kind of called and checked up on me, but I think it was forced. My auntie was always trying to reconnect us as we got older to build a relationship, but it never was that. And then I took it upon myself as, being the son to actually reach out to him as I got older and, calling and stuff, but it was always a break in between. Even after I graduated college in 2012, I took it upon myself to go to Cleveland because my relationship with him was so bad, but my relationship was strong with my cousins and other family members. So I was trying to tie in between what we didn't have. So one time I went down there, kind of excited to try to build this relationship with him, and he just wasn't interested. He was just busy doing other things, watching football. I guess the Browns was playing, and he just kind of just brushed me off, I wasn't even there. And I'm excited because I didn't finish college, I didn't graduate high school, I got all these things that I accomplished. I'm in a fraternity, I didn't accomplish many things. I was like the man back in Toledo. I was throwing parties, I was just doing a lot of things throughout the community,
and he just was like, okay, whatever, I'm busy, we'll talk about this later. And I just, after that, I kind of shell-shocked, and I just was like, I can't do this, you know what I'm saying? At the time, I believe, I was just looking forward to some, different, you get so many thinking how a relationship's supposed to be with your father or your parents, and then when it wasn't there, it just kind of felt like, he didn't want me. I didn't know what was going on, so I kind of left it alone. And then, we still talk to this day, but it's never like, I feel like a father-son relationship should be.
Man. With my dad, man, I love him dearly, man. He gave me a great example of what it is to be a hard-working man. He gave me a great example of what it is to love his family, to what it is to provide for his family, what it is to take care of a family, what it is to not think about self and put your family first. I took my hat off to my pops. You know what I mean? Now, what I will say is, I think our personal relationship together could be it could be better. And I am mature enough to understand that. And I can't say it's all on him. Reason why is because I could have probably came to him plenty of times. I mean, even if he said no, I could have kept coming to him until he got the understanding of, that personal time outside of just sports or, him taking, because he took me to, look, I grew up in the gym, so it's not like I wasn't around him. It's not like he was one of those dads who just popped up to give me money or something. No, he was in my house every single day. But the thing is, it still was a distance. What I mean by that is let's go for ice cream. Let's go for walks and talk. And let's ride and talk. And, those little things that I can't, like I said, I can't necessarily blame him, but the only thing I can do is try to break that generational curse, quote unquote, and do it with my son, with my children, and make sure that I have more personable time with them as opposed to, we're just gonna go to this event as a family, or we're just gonna do a family trip. But what about the in-betweens? What about the sitting down, let's watch Batman? You know what I'm saying? Or the real man talks that you have with a child or your kid growing up. I really didn't get those too much. It was more in a form of criticism, but it's, constructive, if that makes sense.
Awesome. It has not always been that way. My parents divorced when I was 6. Both my parents were in the Marines. My sister and I moved to Missouri, and I did not see my dad for 3 years at that point. So from 92 to 95-ish, I didn't see my dad at all. Then we moved back to Toledo, and my dad was around, but he was just kind of getting his life together, right? And thank God for my mother, because she made space for that. She made space for a man who was flawed and irresponsible and lacked accountability. She left space for him to be in our lives, which, now as a husband and a father, I realize what a sacrifice that is, right? To leave space for someone who's not dependable and who's not consistent. So I went to high school. My parents did the best they could to send me and my sister to a private school, Central Catholic. And even then, I think my mom carried most of the burden. My dad just kind of helped out when he could. And my dad was 40 when he finally figured it out. Or maybe no, he was a little younger. So the year I graduated from high school, he had just kind of figured it out, right? How to be responsible. He had gotten remarried, and life had kind of taken a turn in a positive. But I think even my dad would tell you that was when he finally decided to be accountable to his own choices, right, and start feeling responsible for himself. But that was also for me when I started to recognize the first time I'd ever really seen the only man that I really looked up to practice those things. So previous to that, the only idea of what I had a man was kind of having the women, moving and floating and not ever having to be consistent about anything. So that was 2003-04. It took me to 2014-15 to be able to practice those things. So imagine if he had been in my life from 0 to 15. By the time I turned 18, I might have already had him. But because he was not consistent during those times, it took me from 15 to 30, or from 18 to 30 to start seeing them in practice and then being able to apply them. But now he's awesome, right? He's a pastor and he has integrity. He has all the things that I find myself aspiring and trying to emulate. I think a lot of us black men, young black boys, we're not really proud to talk about our dads, right? Who they are now. So we hang on to the stories of who they were in high school, or the little bright spots that we can kind of like find about their lives, right? Like my dad bought me a pair of Jordan, right? But we don't really get to tell stories about how my dad had dinner with me last night, how my dad cooked dinner for me last night. Me and my dad went out to lunch yesterday and just had to talk about manhood. You don't hear black boys telling those stories, hardly ever. You hear black girls getting to tell those stories. Me and mom went out to lunch, we had our nails done, da-da-da-da-da. For black males, it's usually we went to practice. It usually falls in one of the three things. We went to practice, he came to my game, we went to the barbershop. You know, that's like, you know, that's the experience. It's not a whole bunch of, and I think that's why I'm so thankful for my friends too, because they're all pretty good dads, right? I always see my friends with their kids. They're the ones who put the pressure on me to be more active as opposed to just present, right? Because you don't want to be the one friend who ain't never got their kids, right? Who ain't never at home enough, or, you know, yada, yada, yada. So my relationship with my dad has very much been a reflection of my relationship, or a example from my relationship with my kids. And I have to make sure to remember who my dad is now as opposed to who my dad was then, because I know both. Right? And it's easy for me to emulate either, right? At any given time, I know, I'm aware enough now to be like, you're not being your dad now, you're being your dad then. And so, even as a husband, it was the same thing for me. So, yeah.
I met my dad when I was 23 by accident. He actually stayed up the street from me my whole life. I never knew him. I guess he was caught up in his life, you know. So yeah, I don't really have a relationship, a consistent, healthy relationship with him. I met him early 20s, and since then I never really showed a lot of interest. And he, even after we met, he didn't really show a lot of interest in, you know, knowing me. And so I kind of let it go. I remember stories of, you know, he used to beat my mom, you know, just, so I never really respected him. Thank you for bringing me into this world, probably by accident, you know. But other than that, you know, it's just a blank relationship.
What was your relationship like with your father?
This is where we get to the crying part. My father called me the moving spirit. I never understood it. He likened me to his father, is what he was saying. Like, you know, what his father had skipped a generation when it came to me. I guess he was a big fan of his father. Which is cool. My father was born in 28 and had 2 sons before me. A lot of daughters too. A daughter after me. But, so he wasn't a new dad when he got me. And it never felt like it. I think, you know, most people in my generation probably can't relate to that. Or maybe, you know, even if their dad wasn't a new dad, it might have been like maybe 1 or 2 kids. But like 6 or 7 over 30 years is a different type of situation. And, you know, it was kind of like a lot of times we'd be out, like, oh, it's your granddad, and oh, it's my son. And it was really like a lot of times it was like being with the grandfather, but the authority was your father's. And he would quickly reminded of that. But at the same time, it was easy going because he wasn't pressed about nothing, because he was retired. It was very fun. A lot of wisdom was given. Both, you know, when somebody's that age and has lived a pretty decent life, a lot of it's like thrown off wisdom, like, you know, stuff that you laughed about it as a kid and then you get 10 years later, it's like, shit, that's smart shit. this has been a constant, and I'll talk about it in the spiritual. It's been a constant journey of appreciation, even since he's been gone. He passed in 2006. What I've found is that dementia shuts down your organs, and so that's probably why his lungs stopped working. Because his lungs didn't work. But yeah. I think it was a journey towards understanding, and for a long time, even after he passed, it was hurtful because I wasn't done understanding, and I wasn't ready to be done understanding. And in understanding, in seeking understanding, you need somebody to answer your questions.
Right.
And the person that the only person who could answer my questions was no longer there. So I think once I was ready to accept that that was all I could ever understand about him from him, and I was ready to sew up that hurt, then other blessings start coming. I think this is one of my favorite things. I began to smell like him at some point in my life. Like the way, you run to your father's clothes and you smell his thing, like my stuff would start smelling like, it wouldn't be, I was like, there's no way this smell is coming from anywhere but me.
Right.
And it was, I think that was a gift, especially smoke, the clothes, the way it mixes, the pheromones are there. And then my aunts, my brother and everybody, they tell you look more like your dad and stuff you do, all that kind of stuff. And then you get older. My dad was a poet, so I read a lot of what he used to write, and I understand a lot more about his life and stuff like that. So the understanding comes, but then once I was ready to accept whatever it was, then I could appreciate, and then more understanding came to the appreciation. I think that was a metaphor for life.
What have been the reasons that your relationships have suffered in the past?
Miscommunication, insecurity, a lot of stuff. I don't have I probably got less than a handful of real relationships, but different parts of my life, being 18, getting cheated on, cheating, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. How have
but they want us.
The thing is,
they want us to help them.
We gotta be fathers when we ain't even their fathers. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? This could be our cousin, our little brother, the next door neighbor. We gotta teach these kids where we came from in our time. This time right now, it's horrible. You know what I mean? It's dead. Everything is about death. Everything is about money. We gotta teach motherfuckers self-love. That's what it is, bro.
Somebody is sitting you down telling you, these guys are talking about all these things. That's not reality. This is reality. And I think the young cats, they don't.
Can I ask you first? Did you grow up with a father?
I grew up with a lot of men in my vicinity, okay, and they were doing the things that these guys were talking about in these records, okay, selling drugs, promiscuity, all of those things. However, they still, it's a touchy subject because it's like, you see me do all of these things, but I don't want you to do those things. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So, I had perspective. I had those things, but I also said, okay, I took notes from those guys. So my dad was there, but wasn't. He was. I could see him, but he never sat me down and taught me anything. He taught me through his actions.
Have your relationships with other people suffered as a result of your ego?
Now that's a good question, because I have had suffering relationships. I don't know if it's to do with my ego, because I try to be as humble as I possibly can, but at the same time, I do got an ego. But the thing is, the ego to me, is a healthy thing. It's healthy to have an ego. It's not healthy to be over egotistical. But if you don't have an ego, you don't have a sense of identity. And a lot of people in the world are suffering from identity crisis, especially in the black community. So has my relationship suffered from ego? That's something I'll have to ponder upon.
When was the last time you went to the doctor?
Last time I went to the doctor. What happened, man? I think I broke my thumb, bro. No, I broke my hand right here. Yeah, it's still kind of messed up, so I forgot what I did. But yeah, I broke this and had to go see the guy, man. Had to go holler at him. I don't go to the doctor often because I don't trust him because of the ethno-history of hospitals as it relates to black people. I feel like that's very recent. It's not an old thing. And so I don't really trust the system as much. I do recognize it as being something, you know, that we can still engage in and do business with. We can go there for service, you know, so I do. However, I keep it very limited because I don't agree with the politics behind it. I don't agree with the economics behind it. And I barely agree with the medicine that they give out. So, yeah. So last time I went, when was that? It was about a year ago. About a year ago. Besides minor checkups, which I volunteer to go to.
When was the last time you had a minor checkup?
Last month.
Okay.
I don't play no games.
Okay.
Trauma. Generational trauma.
Cut.
Woo.
A man gonna take care of all the responsibility. This whole household.
If you want to be a man.
You the provider.